A lonely spaceship drifted through the silent darkness of space. Its metal body was broken, covered with deep scars from explosions. Sparks flickered like dying stars inside it. The engines were dead, and the ship spun slowly, lost among the cold lights of the galaxy. Inside that broken ship, two small alien twins, Lyra and Caro, sat close together. Their skin shimmered faintly silver under the dim emergency lights. They were young, no more than 10 years old, and they had been alone for days. Lyra held her brother's hand tightly. "Do you think someone will find us?" she whispered. Caro tried to sound brave, but his voice shook. "Mother said the stars always watch over us. Maybe they'll send someone." But the stars only looked back in silence. The food was gone, and the oxygen was running low. The ship's screen blinked weakly, showing strange alien letters, warnings and countdowns that the twins could not fully understand. Then, suddenly a signal beeped. Far away on a small mining station orbiting Mars, a human captain named Raylan Cross looked up from his work. His radar had caught something unusual, a small ship adrift near the asteroid belt. It carried no human code, no ID, only a faint distress call repeating over and over. Raylan rubbed his beard and frowned. "That's not a human signal," he muttered. "Could be space junk, or something worse." Still, something in his gut told him to go. He climbed into his old ship, the Horizon, and flew toward the signal. When he reached the wreck, he saw how badly it was damaged. "Whoever's in there won't last long," he said. With steady hands, he docked his ship to the wreck and forced open the door. The air smelled burnt. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Then he heard it, a weak cry. "Help, please." Raylan followed the sound and found them. Two small children with glowing eyes and strange marks on their arms. They looked frightened but alive. "Hey, it's okay," Raylan said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." The twins stared at him. They had never seen a human before, but something in Raylan's voice felt safe. Lyra stepped forward and whispered, "Our home is gone. They attacked us." "Who attacked you?" Raylan asked. "The Dark Ones," Caro said, trembling. "They took everything." Mother said to hide, then everything exploded. Raylan looked around at the wreck and sighed. "All right, little ones. You're coming with me." He carried them back to the Horizon and took off before the ship finally broke apart behind them. Back at his small station on Mars, Raylan gave them food, blankets, and a place to sleep. The twins didn't speak much that night. They just sat near the window, staring at the red planet below. Raylan watched them, wondering what kind of story they carried. He could tell they were not ordinary children. The next morning, strange things started to happen. The lights flickered when Lyra was upset. Tools lifted off the table and floated in the air when Caro was angry. The radio switched on by itself, playing strange whispers in a language Raylan had never heard. Raylan didn't tell anyone. Mars was full of government patrols, and if they found out he had aliens under his roof, they'd take them away. He couldn't let that happen, so he told everyone they were orphans from a mining accident, distant relatives adopted after tragedy. Nobody asked too many questions. Days passed. The twins learned human words quickly. They helped Raylan with repairs, and soon, laughter filled the once quiet station. They even called him Dad, but deep inside, Lyra and Caro still felt a strange pull, a voice that called to them from far away, a voice that said, "Heirs of the lost throne." One night, Raylan woke up to a humming sound. He walked into the storage bay and saw the wrecked alien crystal he had saved from their old ship. It was glowing with light. Symbols floated in the air, forming words he didn't understand. The twins stood before it, half asleep, whispering in their alien tongue. The air around them shimmered with energy. "Kids?" Raylan said softly. The twins turned to him. Their eyes glowed bright blue. "The stars know we live," Lyra said. "They heard our call." Then the light burst from the crystal, filling the room with a wave of sound that shook the station. The message traveled far, far across the void. A signal meant for someone or something waiting beyond the edge of known space. Raylan covered his eyes from the flash. When it ended, the twins had fallen asleep again, the crystal now dark and silent. He looked at them, lying peacefully, and whispered to himself, "What are you really?" Outside, unseen in the darkness, a massive ship turned toward Mars. A red light blinked on its surface, in the same pattern as the signal just sent. They had been found. The red sun of Mars rose slowly over the rocky land. The sky glowed like fire. and the wind carried fine red dust that never stopped blowing. Inside a small steel home near the mining fields, Captain Raylan Cross prepared breakfast for his strange little family. 2 alien twins who now called him Dad. Lyra and Caro were growing fast. It had been months since Raylan found them in that wrecked ship. They looked almost human now, though their eyes still glowed faintly when they were happy or scared. Raylan placed metal plates on the table. "Come on, you two. Time to eat," Lyra smiled. "Your food smells weird but tastes good," she said, sitting down. Caro laughed. "Yeah, Earth food is heavy. Makes me sleepy," Raylan chuckled. "That's because you two never stop moving. You fix machines, build strange toys, and make my station hum like a power core." The twins giggled. To anyone watching, they looked like normal kids. But the truth was far from normal. At night, Raylan sometimes saw them doing things no human could. Lyra could lift small rocks and tools without touching them. Caro could talk to the station's systems by just staring at the screen. He didn't need codes. The machines listened to him. Raylan didn't understand how, but he never asked. He didn't want to scare them. He only said, "Use your gifts carefully. Not everyone in the galaxy is kind." They nodded. They trusted him. But even as they laughed and played, something deep inside them never stopped calling. One afternoon, while Raylan worked in the mine, the twins wandered to the ridge above the base. From there they could see Mars stretching endlessly, red hills, black stones, and the faint shimmer of human outposts far away. Lyra looked at the sky. "Do you ever feel like someone's watching us?" she asked softly. Caro squinted at the horizon. "I feel something. Like eyes far away, like they know we're here." Before Lyra could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. A shadow passed over the land. They looked up. A sleek silver ship was descending slowly through the red clouds. It was not Raylan's ship. It was bigger, sharper, and it had no markings. The twins ran back to the base, hearts pounding. "Dad, there's a ship coming." Raylan rushed outside. He looked up and felt his stomach twist. The craft was military, Earth defense type. Not the kind that visited miners for a friendly chat. When the ship landed, dust blew across the field. Soldiers in white armor stepped out, their faces hidden behind dark visors. A woman with a long black coat led them. Her voice was cold as ice. "Captain Raylan Cross?" "That's me," Raylan replied carefully. "What brings the government to my small rock?" The woman's eyes narrowed. "We're tracking a distress signal that came from this area 3 months ago. Alien in origin." Raylan's heart skipped a beat. "Haven't seen anything like that," he lied. But the woman smiled slightly. "Our scanners say otherwise." She tapped her wrist device and a small drone flew out, scanning the air. It stopped near Raylan's home. Its lights flashed red. "Energy traces detected," it said. "Unknown biological pattern nearby." Raylan froze. They know. Inside the house, Lyra and Caro hid under the floor hatch Raylan built for them. A small secret chamber filled with air tanks and blankets. The children trembled as they heard footsteps outside. Lyra whispered, "They're here for us." Caro's eyes glowed faintly. "We can't let them find you or Dad." He placed his hand on the metal wall. The entire power grid of the house flickered, then went dark. Outside, alarms started ringing. "What just happened?" one soldier shouted. Raylan forced a confused expression. "Power surges happen all the time out here. You city people don't know Mars like I do." The commander glared. "Search everything." The soldiers tore through the small house, opening drawers and cabinets. But they didn't find the hatch. Caro had made the floor appear solid by sending a fake image to their scanners. After an hour, the commander finally stopped. "Fine. We'll continue our search elsewhere. But if you see anything strange, Captain, you report it immediately." As they boarded their ship, one soldier looked down at his scanner and whispered to his partner, "Ma'am, readings confirm. The royal energy signature is here." The woman's eyes turned sharp. "Mark this location. We'll return." Then the ship lifted off, vanishing into the red sky. When the dust settled, Raylan opened the hatch. The twins crawled out, frightened but safe. "You did good," Raylan said quietly. "You both were brave." Lyra hugged him tightly. "They'll come again, won't they?" Raylan looked at the sky, still glowing with heat from the ship's engines. "Yes," he said. "And next time they won't ask so nicely." That night, as they sat by the window, Caro whispered, "I heard them say something, Lyra. They called us..." "Royal," Lyra frowned. Royal, but we're just orphans. Caro shook his head slowly. No, I think they know who we really are. The wind howled outside, carrying red dust across the dark plains. Somewhere far beyond the stars, something ancient and powerful stirred, drawn by the signal that had escaped months ago. The hunt for the lost heirs had begun. Night had fallen on Mars. The red plains were quiet, and the cold wind sang softly through the metal pipes of the mining station. Inside, Raylan Cross sat by the window, staring at the stars. He could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of the soldiers who came earlier, and the cold eyes of their leader. He knew they would return. He could feel it in his bones. Behind him, Lyra and Caro slept close together under a blanket. Their silver skin glowed faintly in the dim light. They looked peaceful, but Raylan knew their peace would not last. The whole universe might be hunting them, and he was only one man with an old ship. Raylan whispered to himself, "What are you two caught up in?" Far away, beyond the Martian orbit, a different ship glided silently through space. It was black and long, shaped like a blade. Its crew wore dark armor, their faces hidden by masks. They were not human. They were the Cryon Seekers, ancient enemies of the Aurelian royal bloodline. They had followed the signal from the wrecked ship across half the galaxy. Their leader, Commander Voss, stood before a hologram showing Mars. His voice was low and sharp. "The heirs live. The signal proves it. If they reach maturity, the prophecy begins again. The Aurelian Empire will rise." Another soldier asked. "And the human protector?" Voss smiled cruelly. "He will die first. Then we'll take the twins." The ship changed course, heading straight for Mars. Back on the mining station, Lyra woke with a gasp. Her heart pounded fast. "Caro," she whispered, shaking her brother. "I saw them. I saw black ships in the dark." Caro blinked sleepily. "It was a dream." Lyra shook her head. "No, it was real. They're coming." Before she could say more, the lights flickered and the station alarms began to scream. Raylan jumped to his feet. "Incoming ship detected." He rushed to the control panel. The radar screen showed a large object entering the atmosphere, fast and silent. It was not human. Raylan's hands moved quickly. "Grab your packs. We're leaving now." The twins obeyed, fear in their eyes. Outside, the sky flashed with a streak of fire as the alien ship descended. The ground shook as the black craft landed nearby. Doors hissed open and figures stepped out, tall, armored, and silent. Their eyes glowed red behind their masks. Raylan hid the twins behind a wall and grabbed his old plasma rifle. "Stay low. No matter what happens, don't let them take you." The door to the station burst open. Smoke and light filled the room. Raylan fired. A blue beam struck one of the intruders, sending him crashing into a wall. More came. Their weapons fired red fireballs that melted steel. Raylan fought fiercely, but they were too many. He shouted, "Run, kids!" Lyra and Caro ran through the back tunnel leading to the caves. As they fled, Lyra turned. She saw one of the aliens grab Raylan and throw him across the room. He hit the wall hard and fell. "Dad!" she screamed. Her eyes glowed bright blue, and suddenly a wave of invisible energy exploded from her body. The walls shook. The aliens were thrown backward. Caro stopped beside her, his hands glowing too. The machines around them came alive. Drills, loaders, and mining bots all turned toward the intruders. Raylan, weak but alive, saw it all through blurry eyes. What are they?" he whispered. The bots attacked, striking the invaders with steel arms. Sparks flew. The Seekers began to fall back, surprised by the sudden force. Commander Voss appeared in the doorway, his armor cracked but his voice calm. "So the royal bloodline still breathes," he said. "Your powers have awakened, little heirs." Lyra stepped forward, trembling but brave. "Stay away from him. Stay away from my father." Voss laughed. "That man? He's human. You are not. You are the children of Aurelian, rulers of stars. But soon you'll be nothing but ashes." He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Caro extended his hand. The gun twisted in midair, melting like wax. Raylan grabbed Lyra and shouted, "Now! Into the tunnels!" They ran into the dark cave behind the station. Explosions echoed behind them. Dust filled the air. When they finally stopped, the surface was silent again. They were alive, but their home was gone. Hours later, under the cold Martian night, The twins sat beside Raylan's ship. Lyra pressed a small metal shard into his hand. It was from the wrecked alien ship they came in. It talked again, she said softly. It showed us our mother. She said our real names. Raylan looked at her. Your mother? Caro nodded. She said we are the last of Aurelian, and that the Dark Ones who attacked her are coming for us. Raylan sighed, staring at the burning ruins in the distance. Then we need to be ready. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. Above them, high in the sky, the Cryon ship pulled away. Commander Voss touched his scarred mask and whispered, Run, little heirs. Run as far as you can. We'll find you soon. The hunt had truly begun. The desert of Mars was silent after the attack. Wind swept through the ruins of Raylan's old mining base, carrying red dust over the broken metal. The fire had gone out, but the smell of smoke and melted steel still hung in the air. Far away, inside a hidden cave, Raylan Cross sat near a small fire with the alien twins. Lyra and Caro, their faces glowed softly in the light. They had survived the Cryon Seekers, but they had lost their home. Raylan's shoulder was bandaged. They knew your names, he said quietly. They called you heirs. Lyra stared at the fire. Heirs of what? Caro touched the strange crystal shard they had carried since their ship crashed. The crystal began to hum softly as if it could hear their voices. I think it's time we find out, he said. The crystal floated into the air and glowed brighter. The air around them shimmered like water, and suddenly a hologram appeared, the image of a tall woman with silver hair and gentle eyes. Mother, Lyra whispered. The woman smiled sadly. My children, if you can see this message, then Aurelion has fallen. Her voice echoed through the cave. You were born as the twin heirs of the Star Throne. Our people were betrayed by the Cryon Empire. They destroyed our cities, burned our skies, and hunted our family. We sent you away in a secret ship to keep you safe. You carry within you the power of Aurelian's heart, the light of our world. Raylan stared in silence. Royalty, you mean? They're alien kings and queens? The woman's image flickered. You are more than rulers. You are protectors. The galaxy will look to you again when the darkness returns. The hologram faded. The crystal dropped into Caro's hand, now dim and quiet. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Lyra looked at Raylan. You saved us. You cared for us like a father, but now we know who we really are. Raylan smiled weakly. Yeah, seems like I've been raising royalty without knowing it. He looked at the stars beyond the cave's entrance. So what now? You can't stay here forever. The Cryons will come back. The next morning, Raylan powered up his old ship, the Horizon. We're heading to the polar outpost, he said. I know a scientist there. She studies alien tech. Maybe she can help us understand that crystal better. The twins helped load supplies. Caro connected his hand to the ship's control screen, and the system came to life faster than usual. Your ship listens to me, he said, smiling. Raylan raised an eyebrow. Guess it likes you more than me. They took off, flying through the thin Martian atmosphere. From the window, Mars looked endless. Red deserts, black craters, and the pale blue light of Earth far away in the sky. Halfway to the pole, the ship shook. Lyra frowned. Something's following us. Raylan checked the radar. Not again. A small drone appeared behind them, sleek, fast, and shaped like an arrow. It fired a beam that grazed the ship's tail. Caro's eyes glowed. I can stop it. He pressed his palms on the console, and the ship's lights turned blue. The drone's systems froze midair, its engines dying. It fell, crashing into the sand below. Raylan looked at Caro in amazement. You just disabled that thing with your mind. Caro smiled nervously. It's like the machines listen when I tell them to stop. They finally reached the polar outpost, a small dome made of glass and steel, half buried in snow. Dr. Mira Solon, a kind woman with sharp eyes, met them at the gate. Raylan, you're alive, she said. I heard about the attack near your sector. Who are these kids? Raylan hesitated. Friends. Special ones. Inside, Mira scanned the twins with her instruments. When she saw the results, her eyes widened. This energy pattern, I've never seen anything like it. Their cells are fused with living light. They're not just aliens, Raylan. They're something ancient. Caro showed her the crystal. It came from our ship. It shows our mother. Mira studied it carefully. This isn't just a memory crystal. It's a core key. It holds coordinates to something. Maybe a hidden world. Lyra leaned forward. Aurelian? Mira nodded slowly. Possibly. If the planet wasn't completely destroyed, this could lead you back to it. Raylan crossed his arms. You're saying their home might still exist? Not exactly, Mira said. But something survived, maybe a fleet, maybe an archive. The crystal wants to take them home. That night, while Raylan slept, the twins stood outside the outpost under the pale light of Mars's moons. Lyra whispered, We finally know who we are. But what do we do with that? Kara looked up at the stars. We find Aurelian. We find our people, then we stop the Cryons before they destroy anyone else. Lyra nodded slowly. And what about Dad? Kara smiled. He comes with us. He's part of our family now. Behind them, deep in the shadows of the snow dunes, a dark probe blinked to life, sending a signal back to Commander Voss. Far above, in orbit, the Cryon warship turned its weapons toward Mars once again. Commander Voss stared at the glowing map. So the heirs search for their lost world, he said quietly. Good, let them. When they find it. We'll be waiting. The stars reflected in his red eyes as he whispered, The truth will destroy them. The thin red sky of Mars trembled that morning. From the frozen north, faint lights flashed in the heavens, small glowing dots growing larger each minute. They were not stars. They were ships. Inside the polar outpost, Raylan Cross stood near a cracked window watching the sky. His jaw tightened. They've found us, he said quietly. Behind him, Lyra and Caro looked up from the table where the glowing crystal rested. The once peaceful hum of the crystal now pulsed faster, as if warning them of what was coming. Dr. Mira Solon rushed into the room. The radar's full of contacts, she said breathlessly. Cryon warships. At least 3, maybe more. Raylan loaded his blaster. Then we fight. Outside, the wind howled like a living thing. The Cryon ships descended through the dust clouds, releasing waves of armored drones. Their red eyes glowed through the storm. The miners and scientists from nearby stations had gathered at the outpost, carrying whatever weapons they had. Mining lasers, plasma cutters, even old rifles. They were not soldiers, but they stood beside Raylan all the same. He shouted, Listen up! This isn't just another pirate raid. They're coming for the twins, and if they get them, Mars won't be safe for any of us. We hold this ground. A cheer rose, filled with fear and courage. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes glowing. Dad, we can help, Raylan shook his head. No, you're just kids, Caro stepped forward. Not anymore. Before Raylan could argue, the first explosion hit. The ground shook and the sky filled with fire. Drones dropped from the ships like a rain of metal. Their weapons burned through the snow and sand. The outpost's defense cannons roared back, filling the air with light and thunder. Raylan fired from the front wall, his aim sharp and steady. Keep your heads down, he shouted. Mira operated the defense controls, trying to shield the power core. They're targeting the generator. Suddenly, one of the drones broke through. It aimed its blaster directly at her. Before it could fire, Lyra raised her hand. Blue light burst from her palm and slammed into the drone, sending it flying into the wall in pieces. Everyone froze. Raylan turned slowly. What did you— Lyra looked frightened. I don't know, it just happened. Her body glowed brighter now, light running along her veins like living energy. Caro grabbed her hand. We can do this together. He closed his eyes. Every machine in the outpost flickered. The lights changed from white to gold. The security bots turned toward the invaders. Raylan watched in awe as the machines began to move on their own, obeying Caro's silent command. Mining drones lifted heavy tools and smashed enemy bots apart. The air buzzed with power. The humans cheered, hope rising in their chests. But the victory didn't last long. From the largest Cryon ship, a dark figure descended, Commander Voss. He landed like a falling comet, his armor burning with red light. The air shimmered with his power. So the lost heirs show themselves, Voss said, his voice echoing through their minds. You should have stayed hidden. Raylan stepped between Voss and the twins. You'll have to go through me first. Voss raised his hand and Raylan's rifle flew from his grip, crushed midair. Foolish human. You protect them like your own blood, but you don't understand what they are. Caro stepped forward. We're not what you think. Voss tilted his head. You are the children of the Aurelian throne, the ones who carry the light of creation. Your kind nearly destroyed the galaxy once. You'll do it again. Lyra clenched her fists. That's a lie. Voss smiled cruelly. Then prove it. He lunged. The ground cracked beneath them. Voss moved faster than sight, striking with energy claws. Lyra blocked one with a glowing shield that formed from thin air. Cairo reached out, controlling the outpost's turrets to fire at Voss. But the commander deflected each shot with his armor. Raylan tried to help, grabbing a fallen blaster, but Voss sent him flying into the wall with a wave of force. "Dad!" Lyra cried. Her anger exploded into pure light. A shockwave burst from her body, blinding everyone nearby. Voss stumbled back, his armor smoking. Cairo joined her, channeling the ship's power into his hands. Lightning leapt from his fingertips. Together, the twins unleashed their strength, the full force of Aurelian's heart. The storm they created tore across the field, throwing drones into the sky and shattering the ground around them. When the light faded, Voss knelt in the dust, his armor cracked and his mask broken. He looked up at the glowing twins and laughed softly. "You think this is victory?" he rasped. "This is only the beginning." He pressed a device on his wrist, and before anyone could move, a red portal opened behind him. He stepped back through it and vanished. The sky cleared. The remaining drones shut down. The battle was over. Raylan slowly stood, his body bruised but alive. He looked at the twins, who now seemed older somehow. Their eyes brighter, their faces harder. "You saved us," he said quietly. "You saved Mars." Lyra looked at him, tears in her glowing eyes. "We couldn't have done it without you." Cairo turned toward the sky where faint blue sparks still hung. "He'll come back." "They all will." Raylan nodded. "Then we'll be ready." As the sun rose over the red horizon, the outpost stood silent and half-broken but alive. Humans and aliens, standing side by side, had just won their first battle together. And above them, beyond the stars, other ships began to move. The war for Aurelian had just begun. The wind over Mars had grown quiet after the long battle. Smoke still curled from the broken towers of the polar outpost, and the red ground was marked with deep scars of fire and plasma. Yet in the middle of that wrecked place, life stirred again. Raylan Cross stood beside the twins, Lyra and Cairo, staring at the rising sun. The red light reflected off their glowing silver skin. For the first time, Mars felt alive again. They had survived the Cryon invasion, but everyone knew it was not the end. Only a pause before a greater storm. Inside the outpost, Dr. Mira Solon was repairing what she could. Broken screens, shattered cables, scorched panels. Everything smelled of burnt metal. Yet even through exhaustion, she smiled. "You two changed everything," she told the twins. "When you used your power, the machines responded like they'd known you forever." "You awakened something ancient," Lyra frowned. "We didn't mean to hurt anyone. We just wanted to protect Dad." Mira placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You didn't hurt anyone. You saved us." Cairo looked at the glowing crystal shard, the same one that had shown their mother's message. "It keeps humming," he said. "It wants us to follow it." Raylan walked over, rubbing his arm where he was bruised. "Maybe it's pointing to your homeworld again. Aurelian." Lyra turned toward the sky. "If Aurelian still exists, we have to find it." Mira hesitated. "There's something you should see before you go." She led them into a hidden chamber deep below the outpost. The room was ancient, built from alien stone. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls, the same markings that shimmered on the twins' skin. Mira explained, "This chamber was discovered years ago. No one could read the symbols, but now I understand it's Aurelian tech. It's been here for centuries." Cairo touched one of the symbols. The wall responded, folding open like a flower. Inside was a silver sphere filled with light. Lyra gasped. "It's alive." The sphere projected a vision. A vast golden world floating among blue nebulae. Cities made of light, towers like crystal mountains, and fleets of shining ships flying together. A voice echoed softly. "Aurelian, home of the starborn. The heirs will return when the light awakens," Raylan whispered. "That's your world?" Lyra's eyes filled with tears. It was. The vision changed. The golden planet turned red as fire spread across it. Ships burned. A dark fleet surrounded it, the Cryons. And then everything faded to black. Mira closed her eyes. The planet was destroyed, but something remains. That sphere carries coordinates, a signal from survivors. Cairo clenched his fists. They're still out there. Later, as night covered Mars again, The twins stood with Raylan beside the horizon, his old ship. Its hull was scratched and battered, but it still stood strong. Lyra said softly, "If we go to find Aurelian survivors, you can't come with us." "It'll be dangerous?" Raylan smiled tiredly. "Kid, I fought alien hunters, blasted drones, and nearly died twice. You think I'm sitting this one out?" Caro grinned. Then it settled. Mira handed Raylan a small device. "This will mask your signal from cryon scanners. Once you leave Mars orbit, they won't find you easily." She looked at the twins. "You carry the hope of two worlds now. Don't forget who you are and don't forget who raised you." Lyra hugged her. "We'll come back." The engines of the horizon roared to life. Dust flew into the air as the ship lifted from the red ground. People from the nearby colonies waved as it rose, knowing the strange twins and their human father were now symbols of courage. As they broke through the atmosphere, the stars filled the windows like a field of diamonds. The crystal in Caro's hand began to glow brighter, pointing toward a distant cluster of blue light far across the galaxy. "There," Lyra whispered. "That's where we go." Raylan set the course. "Hold on tight. This might be a long ride." The ship jumped into hyperspace in a streak of light vanishing into infinity. Days turned into weeks as they traveled. During the journey, the twins trained. Lyra learned to control her energy better, forming shields and light blasts. Caro studied the ship's systems, learning to command machines with a simple thought. Raylan watched them with pride. "You two are becoming something incredible," he said one night. Lyra smiled. "We just want to be strong enough to protect the people we love." Caro nodded. "Even if we're from the stars, Earth and Mars are our homes too." Raylan chuckled. "That's what makes you different from all those alien royals. You care." But before they could say more, alarms blared. The ship shook violently. "What now?" Raylan shouted. A massive shadow appeared ahead, an enormous fleet emerging from hyperspace. Ships of silver and blue carrying banners of light. Lyra's eyes widened. "It's them." "The Aurelian fleet." A voice came through the radio, calm and powerful. "This is Admiral Saren of the Aurelian Remnant." "Identify yourselves." Caro answered. "We are Lyra and Caro, children of Queen Alara of Aurelion." There was silence for a moment. Then the Admiral spoke again, voice trembling with awe. "The heirs have returned." The fleet surrounded them, guiding the horizon to a grand flagship shaped like a crystal star. As they entered the glowing hall, Aurelian soldiers knelt on one knee. Raylan looked around, amazed. "You weren't kidding about being royal." Lyra smiled through tears. "We finally found our people." Caro looked at Raylan. "But we're not leaving you behind." The Admiral approached and bowed deeply. "The throne awaits its heirs. The Empire will rise again." Raylan placed a hand on their shoulders. "Then let's rebuild it, together." But far behind them, hidden in the darkness of space, another fleet watched. Cryon ships preparing for war. Commander Voss whispered from his command chair, "Let them gather their empire. I'll burn it again." The battle for the stars was far from over. The stars shimmered across the black ocean of space. Among them, the great fleet of Aurelian sailed once more, golden ships glowing with the light of rebirth. Inside the largest vessel, the Star Crown, two figures stood before a vast window, watching the galaxy unfold before them. Lyra and Caro, the twin heirs of Aurelion, had finally come home. But home was not the shining world they had seen in their dreams. The planet of their birth was gone, destroyed long ago by the cryons. Only fragments remained, broken pieces of land orbiting a quiet sun. Lyra whispered softly, "It's gone." "Everything." Caro placed a hand on her shoulder. "Not everything. Look, our people survived. Below them, thousands of ships carried millions of Aurelian refugees, builders, warriors, and children. They had waited for generations, keeping hope alive. Now, seeing the twins, they bowed their heads and whispered one word: return. Raylan Cross stood beside the twins, still dressed in his old mining jacket. Among the alien royalty, he looked like a man out of place, yet no one treated him that way. The Aurelian soldiers saluted him with deep respect. "You are the protector of the heirs," said Admiral Saren, bowing slightly. "Without you, they would not be here." Raylan scratched his beard awkwardly. "I just did what any father would do." Lyra smiled. "You're more than that, Dad. You're family." Caro nodded. "You're part of Aurelion now, Raylan chuckled. Guess that makes me the first human royal advisor in space. For a moment, laughter replaced the weight of war. Later that day, the twins were crowned in a ceremony that filled the great halls of the flagship. Blue flames burned along silver pillars and songs of ancient voices echoed through the ship. The light of the crystal crown glowed above their heads as both placed their hands on the heart of Aurelian, the same crystal that had guided them since childhood. The fleet erupted in cheers. For the first time in centuries, Aurelian had rulers again. But as the celebration continued, Caro noticed something strange. The crystal pulsed with irregular light, faster, stronger, almost frightened. He whispered to Lyra, "Something's wrong." Moments later, the alarms rang. On the command deck, screens lit up with red warnings. Dozens of dark ships appeared on the edge of the system. Their shape was unmistakable, sharp, cruel, and burning with red engines. Commander Voss had returned. Admiral Seren shouted orders. "Battle stations! Shield up!" The Golden Fleet turned in formation, but the Cryon ships were faster. Missiles streaked through the void and explosions lit up the stars. Lyra ran to the controls. "We can't outgun them." "There are too many." Caro's eyes glowed. "Then we don't fight with guns." He placed his hand on the heart crystal and the entire ship trembled. Energy flowed through him, light spreading from his body into the floor, into the walls, into every ship across the fleet. Lyra joined him, closing her eyes. Together their voices blended, ancient words of power spoken in the Aurelian tongue. The fleet responded. The ships glowed brighter, golden shields expanding outward like wings. When the Cryon beam struck, the light didn't break. It pushed back. Raylan shielded his eyes. "What in the stars are they doing?" Mira's voice came through the radio from Mars. "They're awakening the heart network, the energy of Aurelian itself. The twins are merging their power with the fleet." Voss watched from his command ship, his red eyes burning with fury. "Impossible. They are only children." He fired his superweapon, a beam of crimson energy large enough to cut through a planet. It struck the twins' ship with terrifying force, but instead of breaking, the light changed color. Gold turned to pure white. The beam bent, twisting back toward Voss's fleet. A blinding flash spread across the stars. When it faded, the Cryon armada was gone. Only silent dust and broken metal drifting in the darkness. The Aurelian fleet floated in the calm that followed. The heart crystal dimmed. Lyra and Caro fell to their knees, exhausted but alive. Raylan caught them both. "Easy now." "You did it," Lyra smiled weakly. "Did we win?" Raylan looked at the stars, now peaceful. "You did more than win. You ended it." Days later, a new era began. The Aurelian fleet and the human colonies on Mars formed an alliance, the Star Union. Together, they promised peace, trade, and protection among worlds. Raylan became the bridge between species, often laughing when aliens tried to copy his jokes. Dr. Mira led a new academy on Mars, teaching both humans and aliens how to use Aurelian technology wisely. As for the twins, they became legends. Lyra became known as the Shield of Light, protector of the weak. Caro became the voice of the machines, guiding ships and systems across galaxies. One quiet evening, aboard the Horizon, the three of them sat near a window, looking at the stars they once feared. Raylan said softly, "Hard to believe it all started with a wrecked ship and two scared kids." Lyra smiled. "We were poor and lost once," Caro nodded. "But you gave us a home." Raylan looked at them with pride. "And now you've given hope to two worlds outside." The twin moons of Mars shone bright and a new star rose in the east, the light of Aurelian reborn. The story of the poor alien twins who became rulers was no longer a secret. It was a legend sung across the stars, and as their ship drifted into the golden dawn of a new age, Lyra whispered, "We were orphans once, but now we belong to the universe."